Glad to have you with us. The USF Football Radio Show looking back at a Bulls victory over Florida A&M and a trip out west to play BYU on Saturday night. Head coach Jeff Scott joins us. Coach, first of all, nice to be coming off a win, 38-17 over Florida A&M. A mixed bag. I know you probably feel you got some things to work on, but a lot of positives as well. And bottom line is you come out with a victory.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably that's the biggest thing is the guys did what it took to win the game, and really probably the thing I'm most pleased with is how we played in the first half. That was something that we really talked about all week long. Is in our first two games we really had not come out playing complementary football, offense, defense, and special teams, and so I think being able to come out there early, I think that offensive drive, after it went 3-3 and the offense went down and put the ball in the end zone. That was a real big drive in the game, and so that was probably the biggest positives. There's no doubt. You learn after every game. There's still a lot of things to clean up, but it's definitely nice to be able to learn after a win. And I think just being able to get some good momentum and positive energy with our guys as we get ready for this challenge this weekend.
Coach, what are some of your traditions that you look to kind of implement after a win? This is your second one as the head coach here at the University of South Florida. Everybody always looks forward to victory Monday after a win during the weekend. So what are the traditions that you're looking to bring?
Yeah, I don't know that I have any specific traditions. I mean, I think the biggest thing is that I've learned is always enjoy a win.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Sometimes you may play a game and it's not a great game all the way around, and then you get in there and you're wanting to kind of go off on the guys a little bit. And what I've learned is it's hard to win, and so I've always understood that, hey, after the game when you win, hey, celebrate a win no matter what. Whenever you stop celebrating wins, that's not the culture that we want. And then you get 24 hours, right? Just like any game, win or lose, you get 24 hours as a player. And when you show back up Monday, let's show up ready to learn from the lessons from the week before and ready to move ahead. But we do have a win or lose. We do have dinner for our guys on Sunday night. I think it's important. Sunday is our players' off day, but I think it's really important as coaches to be able to see our guys, the day after the game and check in on them and make sure the guys that are banged up are coming along okay and getting treatment, those type of things. But yeah, we definitely want to have a lot more of those celebrations after the games than maybe we have over the last year.
It was a good special teams day on Saturday. You had a punt block. You had a 49-yard field goal. Scribner had a great hold on that first field goal as well. So a lot of things clicking on special teams.
Yeah, that's probably the one phase out of the three phases that has probably been most consistent throughout the first three games of the season. We got a couple things we definitely need to clean up, but overall, the PAT field goal team has done a really good job. Spencer Schrader's a guy that I think is primed for having a great year. He's really worked hard in practice and can be a weapon for us. And then, also pleased with our punt team overall, just protection, operation. As we're seeing Andrew Stokes kind of get more comfortable back there, I think he can be a weapon for us as well. And then, on the punt block, we spent a lot of time on that. Coach Daniel DePrada, our special teams coordinator, does a great job of having the guys ready. And I think we've been close on a few, and it was nice to get our hand on one of those there on Saturday.
Coach, you guys haven't had a ton of opportunities on kick return, but it seems like the ball is allergic to Jimmy Horn, right? Do you guys kind of get the inclination that people might be trying to kick away from him, knowing how explosive he might be?
Well, they really haven't seen it yet, so I don't know.
Right.
I think we know what he can do because we've seen it in practice. But that's the one thing we don't control. Sometimes we move those guys around to kind of give them an equal opportunity. But that's really the one phase that we really need to improve on. We haven't had many opportunities, but when we have gotten the opportunities, we haven't gotten the ball across the 25 like we want to. I think a year ago that was probably one of our better teams, and so that's something we got some guys up front that are kind of rolling in there that need to get a little bit more consistent, and then I think eventually that ball will find number 5 back there, and look forward to seeing what he can do when he does get the ball.
Defensively, Florida A&M was held to -7 yards rushing in the first half. They picked up some ground in the second half. What was the difference between halves defensively for the Bulls?
Yeah, it really was a difference. Like you said, first half I felt like our defense did a good job against the run. I think they were also 0 for 8 on third down in the first half. And, I think first of all we played probably a little bit different scheme than maybe they had practiced against as we're kind of working to improve ourselves and trying some new things. So I think schematically on their side, we probably had a little bit of an advantage there because we did some different things with a four-man front and some different looks with our linebackers. But, on our side, really what it came down to there in the second half is some guys were not where they were supposed to be. And, you start following the ball and some of the play action stuff and guys maybe not reading their keys and all of a sudden you get out of gap. And that's kind of how defensive football is. As Sam knows, if you're not in your gap, then that ball is getting to the safety really quickly. And so they did a good job with some of the change-ups they had there in the second half, and I just don't feel like our guys played as sound defensively within the scheme or within their gap integrity as we did in the first half.
Now, speaking of defense, one of the guys that we hadn't seen much of in the first two games but showed up a lot this Saturday was Demares Bellamy.
Yeah. Demares is a guy last year that was able to make some nice plays, kind of got off to a slow start here at the beginning of the year, and he's kind of worked his way back up into our lineup, and I think he actually got the player of the game defensively for the amount of production that he had, and and that was also kind of part of our maybe a little bit of a change up in the scheme with him and Vincent Davis, letting them share a little bit of time out there at Sam linebacker, and so it got him on the field and got him an opportunity, and he's a guy that you saw a couple of pictures of him knocking their running backs backwards, and that's what I'm looking for, some guys that are playing with a physical nature and get faster the closer they get to the football. And Bellamy is one of those guys, and I think as he continues to develop and continues to earn trust from our coaching staff, then he'll get more opportunities and have a chance to have a really good year for us this year.
We talked a little bit last week about the running backs, how the guys are kind of settling into their roles, and we really saw that on Saturday. We saw the big guy power his way into the end zone 3 times. We saw Battie with over 100 yards rushing. That quartet seems pretty solid now.
Yeah, that's probably one of the areas I'm most pleased with within our offense, the offensive line, and then the running backs. I think, kind of going into the season, we were thinking we might be a little bit more ahead at quarterback and wide out, and as we've gotten in the season, it kind of turned the other way. And those guys have been really consistent, and I think it was great to see Battie out there healthy and getting some opportunities. And he's a different speed when he's out there. That's one thing that kind of stands out. He's got to continue to work on his ball security. We got really fortunate on one of those fumbles there early in the game. But he's a guy I think that really can add an element for us offensively, and then I think Kelly Joyner is kind of in that very similar mode to him as more of a speed guy. And then you look at our bigger guys with Mingham. I'm really proud of him, and really just him coming from the outside, being a transfer, and he was kind of the last guy on the depth chart when he showed up, and he's really earned his way up there. And as a coach, when you have a new guy coming in, especially a transfer, you want to see them earn the opportunities that they get and let the team know that they've earned it. And that's what I've seen. I'm seeing some leadership out of him on the sidelines and him pulling and cheering for the other backs whenever they're in there. So, really pleased with what I've seen from him. And, I really like that group. I think we're going to need all 4 of those guys as the year goes. It's a long year, a lot of opportunity. But those guys have definitely produced here early on.
Coach, you had a few guys go down in your receiver room this past week, and I won't ask you to comment on their status now, but you talk about the strength of your running back room. Going forward, is it more of an opportunity to lean on those guys, or do you anticipate more guys in the receiving room stepping up so you guys don't have to deviate from what you want to go into the game with as far as scheme?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of potential in the receiver room, a little bit of it. And it's been a little bit on both groups, the quarterbacks and the wideouts. And obviously, as we're rolling different quarterbacks, trying to give guys different opportunities, and we're rolling a lot of wide receivers. And that's kind of our philosophy going into these first 4 non-conference games, is to give as many guys opportunities as we can, and we really have to kind of get focused as we get ready to go on the road at SMU the next week for the first conference game, to really kind of know what our first group is, what our second group is, and be able to go kind of play the season there. But yes, there's no doubt. I mean, we have made some plays. It was nice to see Weaver there and Timmy hit on that nice touchdown pass down there in the red zone. That's something that we can build off of. But I definitely feel like we have a lot of potential from what I've seen in practice throughout spring and also fall camp from that wide receiver room. I think right now what we're finding out is, until we get the consistency that we really need throwing the ball, that we can really lean on that running game to keep us more on schedule. And I think eventually that the passing game is going to catch up, and that's really ultimately when our offense will have a chance to take off to reach our full potential.
How would you evaluate Timmy's game, and Catravis for that matter too, since you were able to get him some reps?
Yeah, well, Timmy in his first start, he did a lot of good things. And then as a true freshman quarterback in his first start, he also had some mistakes and things that he needs to clean up. I think, the biggest thing for him is he wants to do everything really fast, and sometimes that's good, and then there's other times that you just need to kind of relax in the pocket and let the plays develop and deliver the ball. And so some of his mistakes were him just kind of rushing, going through his progression a little too fast and rushing the ball there. But overall, I think we kind of can see glimpses of, what we can do offensively whenever he's in control and in command. And, he's a guy, we've already seen it here in the last two games, but, he's a guy that's just going to get better and better the more reps he gets and more opportunities he gets. And so this could potentially be a big opportunity going on the road. It's going to be extremely loud at BYU, and that'll be another experience for him. And then, Trey, unfortunately, two of his passes, he had two nice throws and had two drops. So that was tough. The one negative play for him was dropping the snap there on a key down, and we kind of lost an opportunity there. But Trey's a guy that I would like to get some more opportunities to be able to evaluate him fully here in the early part of the year.
Coach, early on, before game one, the first show we had you here, you spoke so much about Cade's character and who he is off the field. So I'm very curious to know, as he's taken a reduced and reserved role now and watching these young guys go out and be the starters, how well is he helping those guys out in terms of adjusting to the playbook and making progressions as players as well?
Yeah, well, number one, Cade is a guy that has a lot of character and integrity. I mean, that's why he, has kind of elevated himself to where he has within our team. And he's one of our leaders, and he's done exactly what I expected him to do, which is to come out every day and go to work and continue to lead and continue to encourage. And Cade also knows that it's a long year, and no matter what happens early in the year, there's times where there could be other opportunities. And I think what I see from Cade in practice is he's preparing and waiting for his next opportunity. And whenever that happens, I know he's going to go out and play to the best of his ability. But there's no doubt about it. He's a team player, and I know it's very important to him. He's working extremely hard, but he's been nothing but positive with our players and with our team.
All right, we'll take a time out, talk a little bit about the Bulls and BYU. We also now have the kick time for the road game in Dallas against SMU. We'll have that for you coming up. Stay with us, more to come on the USF Football Radio Show. We have football for you Saturday night, and we will be a long way away from home as the Bulls go to Provo, Utah to play BYU. Coach, it's really only a handful of times in program history that the Bulls have crossed the Rocky Mountains for a football game, so this is going to be an interesting trip. You do have a little bit of altitude to deal with there, and obviously a long plane ride as well. Anything different in preparing the team for a game like this?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is while we're here, in Tampa and on campus, we're going to prepare the same way. And I think that's the big message to our guys is, it doesn't matter who we play, where we play, what time, altitude, all that stuff. It's really going to come down to our execution and the things that we control. And so that's the big message early part of the week. And I did tell the guys they need to maybe look to get a little extra hour of sleep each night this week because we do have a long travel day. We are going out a day early. We'll leave Thursday afternoon, really just to have a chance to get out there and kind of get settled. And really part of that is, you never can predict if you have delays with your plane and those type of things. And, if you wait and go the day before and all of a sudden you have some long delays and you're getting all the way out there late Friday evening or something like that, could be a challenge. So, we'll practice here everything through the end of our Thursday morning practice will be exactly the same. And then we'll have lunch and get on the plane and head over to Provo and have a little time to kind of get acclimated. I think we're going to have a chance to go by the stadium on Friday and just kind of look around a little bit, get that behind us, and then get focused and ready to go play our best game of the year.
Maybe Jim can speak to this a little better than I can, but you're talking about crossing the Rocky Mountains. I don't know where Nevada lies geographically, but I think it was my senior year. We went out to Nevada, and all I know is they kicked the ball off, and then I look at the scoreboard, and it's 21-0. We were down, and we came back and we wound up winning that game. But it reminds me of something that you said in one of your press conferences. Regardless of the adversity your team has faced, you guys have stayed together.
Right.
What's the secret behind that? Because these guys are young, they're still learning who they are, and it's easy to point the finger, but you haven't had that.
Yeah, I think a lot of that starts in the off season, right? It's really talking about that before the storms come, right? Because once the storms come, it's too late, and so that's something that we've talked a lot about just within the culture of our team and how we're going to deal with things and how we're going to continue to move forward. I mean, we obviously looked at the beginning of our schedule and we knew we had some challenging games right off the bat, coming off a challenging year the year before. And so, hey, we talked about it, right? We talked about the word grit and just continue to move forward in the face of adversity, no matter what. Continue to stay together, and that's probably what I'm most pleased with this last game. Some people may look at the opponent and say, well, you're playing a lesser opponent, but I think we can look all over college football these first 3 weeks, and there's been plenty of FCS teams that have upset FBS teams, and so really. For our guys to continue to show up each day, continue to go to work, and have the right mindset, that's definitely a good sign. We got to continue to work to get better, but we're still going to have adversity. I mean, our season is full of that because we're playing some good teams, and as you're building your team and as you're building your program, that's really what it comes down to is continue to make improvements no matter what happens, no matter the circumstances. And we just cannot allow ourselves to go backwards. We've got to continue to move forward. But, yeah, this is a good test. You can talk about it all you want. I definitely felt like going into the season we were a much closer team, more prepared for that. But really, you go back to the halftime of the Florida game. That's ultimately where, I said, well, we're going to find out right now. The talking's over. We're going to find out. And I think from that halftime through, the end of the game last Saturday, I've definitely seen a positive trajectory, and we want that to continue.
We're going to bring in Daquan Bowers later in the hour and talk with him. He's a Clemson connection. You brought him into your staff last year, and we talked to him on the show last year about his background, his great musical ability, and all the things he's accomplished in his life. What kind of a guy is he? Why did you target him as a guy that could help you on your staff?
Well, first thing is I watched him as a player. I mean, I can remember when he was in the 9th grade, and he was maybe the number one player in the state of South Carolina as a 9th grader, very similar size to what he is right now, and he was playing running back and defensive line for them. But whenever he got to Clemson, just his work ethic, I mean, he really outworked everybody. Even though he was one of the most talented players on our team, he showed up every day, and, he was on the field early. He stayed late. And he really just put it in very serious about where sometimes maybe you have guys that are maybe the best athlete on the team and it's a little easier for them and maybe they don't quite buy into the work ethic that it requires. But watching him as a player, the way he worked, and then also having an opportunity when he came back to Clemson, kind of in a student coach role there early on, being able to watch him work with our defensive linemen there at Clemson and coach and teach and correct and do those type of things. And so that's really why we brought him here, and been really pleased watching him. Had some young guys out there making some plays this past Saturday, and I think that defensive line group is going to continue to improve each and every week.
Coach, is there a player that at this juncture who's really separated himself and that you're seeing emerge into, maybe he's an underclassman, but emerge and have the qualities of a leader? I think, we talk about the team as a collection a lot, but there are guys who develop and create value for themselves throughout the course of the season that probably needed time to mature during training camp.
Yeah, well, I think we're kind of seeing that with you got some younger new guys kind of coming into a role. I would say the guy that he's new to us, even though he's maybe a little bit older. But Jaron Mingham, I would say that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. I kind of saw for the first time on Saturday him on the sidelines, kind of going up and down and encouraging the guys and correcting some negative energy and some different things, and being in the huddle and really kind of coming out of his shell. And I think we need that on offense. I think we have good leadership on the offensive line. Those guys have played together for a while and have some good respect. But with our quarterback situation kind of where it is right now, we need somebody else outside of that offensive line room. And I think Jaron's done a really good job of kind of stepping up in that role on offense. And then defensively, the guy that I would say that was in position for that was Will Jones, and unfortunately, he had the injury and is going to be out for the year. But he was kind of that guy I felt like was bringing some really good positive energy and positive leadership. Hopefully, we're going to get Makai back here sometime soon. He's a guy that we definitely miss out there on defense, just from a leadership perspective and overall knowledge of getting guys lined up.
Give us a thumbnail, if you will, on BYU 3-0, another win over a ranked team last week. What challenges do they provide?
Yeah, I stayed up till 2 a.m. Early Sunday morning watching them in their last game there. Number one, they're very well coached, very sound, physical. They play extremely hard. They just really, they look like a top 10, top 15 team. When you watch them on film, they're just very, very sound. They have really good size. They've obviously recruited and developed their players very, very well. Everybody was talking about the quarterback, that left last year. That was a really good player, but the guy this year has done awesome, and he's got really good feet. He's a guy that can beat you throwing, but he's also a really good weapon running the ball. So we're going to have to do a really good job on defense of keeping him in the pocket, not letting him get outside where he can be really dangerous. But yeah, a lot of respect for him. It's going to be a huge challenge for us, but hey, one we're excited about. We're going to go all the way out there and play in their home. I know it's going to be an incredible environment. I could see that on TV. Their students, it was packed, and after the game, they're still up there doing their chants and going through the whole thing. So this will be a great experience for our guys, and really kind of the next step for us in our journey of the season.
Coach, how do you replicate a guy like that in practice if the guy who's most capable of replicating is your starting quarterback?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. We do have some other guys that during certain periods of practice can go over there and kind of give the defense a look. But we do go good on Tuesday and Wednesday. We go against each other, and even though they can't tackle him, they can go tag off. They do get to go against Timmy a little bit. And but yeah, it's definitely a challenge. Anytime the quarterback can run, that's an added threat, and really kind of makes you question a few things that you want to do from a scheme wise, because you gotta account for that extra guy. And so that's definitely something that Coach Spencer and his staff will be working on all week.
We talked about the injuries in the defensive secondary. Can you fill us in on the guys that stepped up in Saturday's game? We called Brock's name a lot, as we expected to, but with so many guys out, who else made contributions in that game Saturday?
Yeah, I think Brock was the biggest guy early on, obviously getting the start. Jaden Curry came in and was able to help for a few plays. But right now those two corners and Matt Hill played just about every snap. And so, we've got to find a way to find some more depth behind them. Right now, we just don't feel comfortable that the guys behind them are ready. And defense is different than offense. You can roll more wideouts out there, and you're going to run the ball, and he's blocking away. But you put a defensive guy out there that's not ready, then it's touchdown, and and you're going kickoff return real quick. And so, we have to get better attention to detail from some of the backups in practice for us to get a trust level, and then at some point we're going to have to put them out there and let them go, because it's going to be a long year, and we're just really, really thin in a few of those positions on the back end. Hopefully we're going to be able to get Micah LaPointe back at some point, and also Crow. We're hoping early on we thought it may be an ACL, but now it looks like it's just a knee bruise, and may be able to get him back to add to some of that depth and help us throughout this game and this season.
Coach, and I know you consistently carry the theme, it's all about us. But specifically, from a theme standpoint, what are you guys focusing on this week?
Yeah, well, it's what you said. You know it, all right? It's not much more difficult than that. I mean, really just focused on improving. The biggest message as we came in, hey, I wanted the guys to feel good. Hey, we want a game. That's something we've been working really hard to get done. But the good news is we didn't play anywhere close to our, top potential. And so there's a lot more. It'd be one thing if we went and played our best game and that was the score. Then maybe our ceiling for this season and this team would be a lot lower. But there was a lot of opportunities on offense and defense to be able to score a lot more points and be able to play even better on defense. And so, we're 3 games in, right? The first quarter of the season's over. We're just starting the second quarter here, and so really that's our message is, hey, it is about us. It's about improving what we're doing, and everybody, coaches and players, have to continue to work to get better because we got some big challenges coming up.
Coach, thanks. Have a good game out west.
Great. Thank you.
Head coach Jeff Scott. This will be a late start for Bulls fans. Our radio coverage begins at 8:15 Eastern. Kickoff at 10:15 Eastern from Provo, Utah. And if you're going to join the Bulls in Dallas the following week against SMU, that's going to be a 4 p.m. kickoff for the Bulls conference opener. Stay with us. Back after this on the USF Football Radio Show. Bulls and BYU from Provo, late start, 8:15 airtime Eastern, 10:15 kickoff for the Bulls' final non-conference game of the season. Bulls defensive line coach Daequan Bowers joins us. Coach, thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you both for having me.
Tell us about this group of guys you have this year. This is an area where the Bulls really wanted to improve upon, build some depth, build some size. 3 games behind you. What's your assessment?
We got a great group of guys. A great group of guys that love to work. They complement each other, with the way they work day in and day out. Just fine-tuning the craft of the position. In their group, they're most of them are older, so they understand what has to happen in practice in order for us to be successful on game day. So that's the biggest thing. Super proud of them. Throughout the first 3 games, sky's the limit. We've done a lot of good things, but a lot of things that we can improve upon.
Coach, there's no secret on the history and the background you have, not only as a ball player, but from a extracurricular standpoint or the talent off the field. It's understood that some of these guys might play in the NFL, some of them won't. How do you coach your guys into their greatness off the field, but at the same time having a primary duty to coach them on the field?
That's a great question, and I like to say it goes hand in hand. What the type of player you are off the field, it'll show up on the field. If you're not a very detailed person off the field, you're not going to be a very detailed person on the grass, whether it's, having the right steps, having the right hand placement, or whatever the case may be in football. The same goes outside of football. You got to be detailed. How you are off the field reflects how you are on the field. So I tell my guys, be your best version on the field, off the field. At some point in time, you know as good as I know, this game is going to be taken away from you. So the strides that you make off the field, you don't have to be perfect, but you got to be your best. Whatever that is, whether it's showing up at the class, whether it's picking up a piece of trash you walk by, that's the type of person that you have to be. It's all about character, and that goes hand in hand. Like I said, if you're a guy that's not going to be detailed and showing up on time to tutors or showing up to breakfast on time, you're not going to be detailed. I can't trust you to stay in an A gap or a B gap when the game's on the line. So I teach those guys to be detailed and be accountable at all times. Be accountable not only to yourself, but be accountable for the other 10 people on that field that's dependent on you.
Do you ever marvel at how things have worked out for you personally? I mean, here you are coaching in Tampa. You're working in the stadium where you played the bulk of your professional career, watching the Bucks with untold success and building this program here. We talk about it a lot, how football can be kind of a small fraternity with a lot of coincidences, and you never truly say goodbye to anybody because they keep popping up in your lives again.
So true, and it's really surreal. I'm blessed and favored to be back in Tampa. Tampa is where I met my wife. It's home for me. And I just feel honored and grateful that Coach Scott brought me down here, to share my experiences, And go back to what, Sam said, I want to be able to tell my experience of what I learned on the field as well as what I learned off the field. I was blessed enough to be around a ton of great players, all pro players, pro bowlers, future Hall of Famers, and some great coaches. So along those lines, over my career, I've learned some good things and I've learned some not so good things. So, I just want to pour into my guys, the lessons and the values that I've learned throughout this game of football. Football has blessed me to take me places I probably wouldn't imagine going. And that's what I tell my guys. It can open up a door for you that you don't even know exists right now. And that's just by attacking the game, playing the game that you've loved since you were 5 or 6 years old, and just being a perfectionist at your craft and getting the opportunity to play at the next level. And it'll open up doors for them, not even as far as professionally playing, but, the guys that they'll be with, the guys that they're on their team with, they'll have careers outside of football one day. They're going to be fathers. They're going to be business owners. And we all know that locker room is a sacred place. Those are your brothers. So those are the people that, you learn to count on day in and day out. And those are the people that you're going to be calling 10 years from now, with the same expectations. Hey, man, I got this going on. Or, hey, man, I'm looking for whatever. Or I got a business partner that's looking for this. That's the brotherhood and the fraternity of the locker room. And our guys are doing a great job of just buying into that. Being in the moment, having fun, finding joy in the journey. Because I tell these seniors all the time, hey, man, every game that we play, that's one less opportunity that you got on the back end. Your time is winding down. So take advantage of each day. Don't let a day go by that you take for granted. Because at the end of the day, the ball's going to go flat. So enjoy it while you can. If you're blessed enough to go to the next level, so be it. But when that time is over, make sure that you left it all on the field. So when you don't have that last play, you don't have anything to regret.
Daquan, who was the pro player or even college player at your position that pretty much set the standard of excellence for you? I don't think we talked about this last year, and I'm very curious to know because you were an excellent player. You played the game the right way. Who did you admire, and who did you think played the game the right way and also set the path for you to go?
Coming out of Clemson, when I was there, Gaines Adams was a big inspiration, obviously, to me. He was a big brother. I talked to him about everything as far as football and life goes on. But, once I got to Tampa, Gerald McCoy was the perfect pro. Just how he approached the game, how he approached his meetings. You're talking about, him and Rondé Barber every day writing notes. They've been through that defense. Rondé at that point in time, for 14 years, 15 years, he'd been a player. Gerald 3 or 4 years, but every meeting they're taking notes like it's the first time that they heard it. And they're sitting up at the front of the room listening, straight-eyed, listening to what Coach has to say. And I looked at that and I'm like, okay, this is something different. In college you have certain guys that do it, but in the pros, like this is the level that you have to be on. This is your job, and these guys they take it seriously. So I was blessed enough to be around players like that I saw do it, not necessarily heard about them doing, but I saw them leading the way by their actions, by how they took care of their body, how they approached the meeting room, how they took coaching, things like that. And if a 15, 16-year-old veteran, future Hall of Famer Rodney Barber can do it, why ain't I doing it as a rookie coming into a new organization trying to feel my way? Those are the kind of people that you got to kind of set your standards after. Guys that have been there, guys that are leading by example, guys that are doing all the things the right way.
You talked about having some real veterans among your current group on the defensive line. Next segment, we're going to speak to the veteran, 7-year guy, Thad Mangum. That's got to be a great advantage, having that kind of experience. Tell us a little bit about Thad.
The old man of the group. Thad is a workhorse. He's definitely the leader of that group. And like I was just talking about, he leads by example. It's not so much vocal leading, but it's about the way he carries himself, how he goes about his business day in and day out. You don't see him late to meetings. You don't see him walking on the field. You see him jogging on the field. You see him encouraging players. You see him holding his teammates accountable, but as well holding himself to a different standard. Because you can't just talk about it. You got to be about it. It's easy to say one thing and do another thing, but when you got guys that are watching you and watching how you act and how you behave, that's on a totally different level. And he's been doing a great job of just leading by example. Not doing a whole bunch of talking, but just showing up every day to work his craft and get better.
Coach, what does your group have to do this weekend to be successful and have a positive effect on the defense's performance against BYU?
You know, we don't have to do anything special, Sam. We just got to play our game. You know, at the end of the day, you know, BYU is a great opportunity to go on the road and get a win, but it's all about USF. It's all about how we prepare. It's all about how we attack this week of practice. You know, we got to go out and have a great day of practice. I tell my D-line all the time, you know, we have to be the engine that pulls this car. You know, we have to be the engine that makes this thing run. And as long as we're going and we're on our best, you know, this team will follow. So I feel like if we have great energy and great emotion throughout the game and we're doing our job, you know, the defense and the team feels that. So we've got to do a great job of just playing sound football, gap responsibility, and being tough. You know, defensive line is tough. You know, you're going to get doubles. You're going to get hit every play. You're going to be in some unfortunate situations, but, you know, that's the name of the game, and you got to be able to do it down in and down out. So that's what we're teaching our guys now, just having that mentality of work every play, next play mentality. You know, giving my best for this play, and once that play is over, hey, I'm on to the next play, whether it was good or bad. You know, that's the kind of mindset we got to have. You know, we just got to go play team ball, do our job, and lock in on our assignments and technique, you know, and I think we'll be fine.
Defensive line coach Daquan Bowers. Coach, thanks.
Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate this.
Bulls getting ready to go out west to Provo, Utah. We'll talk a little bit more about that game and also meet Bulls defensive lineman Thad Mangum when we return on the USF Football Radio Show. Bulls and BYU in Provo this Saturday, then another road game against SMU. Next home game, if you want to see the Bulls at Raymond James Stadium, October 16th against Tulsa. Starting time on that not yet determined. Well, we've got one of the real veterans of USF football with us, Thad Mangum, a former Wofford Terrier. 5 years there with an injury year, and with the so-called COVID opportunity, now second year here with the Bulls. Let's start that with your decision to come back. You took advantage of the opportunity to have another year. You certainly didn't have to. What led to you coming back?
Well, just Coach Scott being able to have the opportunity to come and finish my collegiate career and be able to finish my master's as well was a big emphasis for me. Also, just finishing my career strong, trying to continue to build on to the program and help grow the program as well was a key factor for me as well. And then having the D-line, we got a bunch of older guys, so I said I was coming back first, and then the rest of them said, shoot, let's do it again. So we all just came back.
That, I mean, you know, if you came in and you did 4 years in college, you'd be 3 years removed at this point. If you can go into an alternative universe, what would Thad Mangum be doing if he wasn't in college playing his 7th year of ball?
Shoot, I'd probably be coaching.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'd probably be coaching, helping out other guys, trying to give back the wisdom that I've been given throughout my career. But you said a different route. So if I had to go a different route, I'd probably be doing truck driving.
Okay.
Probably doing truck driving.
That was your dad's life.
Right. Yes,
awesome,
sir.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad, he was he ran his own truck driving business. He had one truck, and he was building on to getting multiple trucks within traveling around the United States.
I liked when you were talking about him. I know you recently lost him, but you were talking about his driving and how he would use that time to be on the phone just to catch up with everybody. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, sir. He would call all the time because he'd be driving late night hours, and we'd be coming in pretty early. So sometimes he'd call me over the road, like before meetings and stuff, early meetings, and we just sit there talking about what's been going on throughout the week and how the family's doing and how my girlfriend's doing. And we just catch up, and I just miss him.
Yeah. Did you ever get an opportunity to travel over the road with your father?
I did. When I was younger, me and my little brother, we had rode up to Indianapolis with him. I believe he had to pick up a truck. That was the worst. We was just all cluttered up into the tractor. That's the front part of the 18-wheeler, and it was me, my middle brother, and my dad, and we just drove that whole way up to Indianapolis. And then once we was coming back to South Carolina, we had to take the the little bus that have like I forgot. They be traveling over the roads, but
Megabus.
yeah,
or
the
Greyhound?
mega bus.
Uh-huh.
We was traveling on the mega bus back from Indianapolis. Yes, sir.
Well, we had you on this show last year, and Sam and I studiously read the biographical information of every guest that's coming up.
Right.
And jet skiing was on your bio last year.
Right.
So faithfully we asked about it, and you hadn't tried it yet.
Yeah,
Now
nah.
we're told you have.
Oh yes, sir.
Tell us everything.
Hey, them jet ski, you trying to race? Shoot,
Yeah.
we can go out there and do that. It was fun. It was a good time. Went downtown Tampa, rode by Tom Brady's house. So yeah, it was a good time. It's called Paramount Water Sports out there. Y'all should sponsor us in the NIL. Me and my teammates. But yeah, it was a great time.
Awesome. Now, what about school? You're finishing your master's. That's a huge accomplishment. I mean, obviously, this much time in school,
You gotta do something.
you got to do something. But what are you getting your master's in, and what are you planning to do with it?
I'm getting my master's in entrepreneurship and applied technologies. So it's kind of crazy how my life has unfolded with my dad passing. So now that responsibility has been taken on by me, my little brother, and my mom. So we are working towards getting that business back on the road, above not beneath logistics. We're trying to get that back running. So I'm getting the wisdom to be able to do that to help the business grow. And that's something my dad was always talking to me about, growing a business. But I was young, so it's just crazy how life works.
7 years of your life. I mean, that's a big chunk of your life for being such a young man still. How have you changed since when you started in college football? Think back to first year, you're walking on the Wofford campus, first day, compared to Thad Mangum 2021.
A whole different person. As a freshman, I was raw. I didn't play high school football until I was a junior. Until I was a junior in high school. So just having 2 years of high school football, I was just mostly bigger than everybody. So I really didn't know the game. But once I got to college, I started learning the game more and more. Until now, I have a full understanding of what's going on and how the different formations, what plays I could get from the different formations. So it's night and day from when I first came into Wofford and leaving USF into my final year.
Dad, which guy on the offensive line, right? When you line up against him at practice, you're like, all right, you know what? I got to pack my lunch, and who essentially helps you become a better player because you're able to practice against him day in and day out.
I would say it's hard. All of them. But particularly one, I remember back in the summertime, well, not one, but two, Big Trey Jacobs, and Donald Jennings, we was out there in the summertime getting extra work after the workouts in the weight room. We come back to the field sometimes and we all get one-on-ones in. So those two guys, I would say I had to bring it. And Big Meech Harris, I had to bring it with him every single time. Shoot, all of them. Brad, Wiz, all of them. Yep.
Well, Thad, a great visit. Have a great game out at BYU. Thanks a lot for taking time for us. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Seventh-year Bull, Thad Mangum, number
Appreciate
23. He'll be on the defensive line as the Bulls play BYU on Saturday night in Provo. Stay with us. Sam and I back to wrap it up after this on the USF Football Radio Show. Welcome back to USF Football Radio Show. The Bulls are 1-2 on the season, coming off their nice win over Florida A&M. Sam, now it's a little bit of a different type of opponent. BYU is usually big and strong. They've got a lot of talent. They run the ball well. Going to be a challenge, but again, these are the games that you want to have as you prepare for conference season.
Right, a real challenge, Jim. But the thing about this game is it's, like you said, it's going to prepare this team for conference play. Regardless of what happens, there are going to be lessons learned from it. And if you take these lessons and you go back to the drawing board and just examine where you went wrong and be very critical of yourself about where you can improve, not only as a team but individually, I think there's going to be a lot of progress that comes from this game, and I think we'll see the biggest jump in improvement as far as gameplay, execution, and obviously penalties from this game, obviously going to the next game against SMU.
And we talked a little bit with Coach about this. It's a different kind of trip. It's going to be a unique atmosphere. There's a little bit of altitude to deal with. Long plane ride, so much so that the team is going out a day early. So it's a little bit different for the young guys.
Right. So again, I'll reference the game that I played in back in 2012 against Nevada, and you must take into account the environment. Because when everybody comes down into Florida, it's understood they're coming into a very humid place, and the heat is something that's going to catch them off guard. So typically, teams that have indoor facilities, they turn off the AC so it's a little more muggy, just to create that environment so their players can pseudo-acclimate to what they're going to experience. But I think Jeff Scott's decision to go out a day early, I think that's a great decision. They'll go out and they'll have their jog through on that Friday, and I think it'll open their lungs up a bit, and they'll be able to see what the environment is going to be like on game day. Because being in Florida and going out west and playing in those environments, BYU understands that it's the 12th man that they have, and it'll help them on game day.
Just the second time the Bulls have played in the state of Utah, first time in about 20 years. We'll bring you the radio call of the Bulls and BYU on Saturday night. Then it's off to Dallas to play SMU in the conference opener in 1 week. Thanks for joining us. Another edition of the show next week on the USF Football Radio Network.